music on YouTube grew about 60% last year alone, and that's on a pretty large base. The good news is that all of you are part of a segment that is growing really fast on YouTube, and it's a big segment. Music is, as a genre, overall the largest in India. My guesstimate, and this is not an official figure, but our guesstimate is that music views in India on a monthly basis are in excess of about 1.5 to 1.7 billion per month. If you take out all the music industry parts of it, as the labels, etc., a big chunk moves out. But I can assure you that the segment that is left for independent music creators is still larger than any other segment. Because you really need to understand how you can make music work for you. So there's the creator part of the industry, and then there is the business part of the industry, okay? You guys are all the creator part of the industry, right? Composer is the person who sets up the tune, the actual tune. And I've seen different people do it differently. Sometimes somebody's written poetry and then they compose a tune to it, but very often it's a tune and the lyrics are written to it, and you have a lyricist and then you have a singer. It's very simple. What does the next component is where it starts becoming a little bit more complicated. Everybody's heard of a label, of course, and you've heard of the publisher. The label is the company that will go and actually take, in the past, the CDs, print the CDs and put them out in the market and sell and distribute. So the label does that. The master recording is what the label manages. So when you lock a track and you create your composition, the lyrics with the lyrics and the singer, the locked final version of that track is called the master. Everybody's familiar with that? That master is what the label manages. End of story. Anything that happens to that master is what the label is involved with, and nothing outside that. So when that master goes to Spotify, Gaana, Saavn, anywhere as a stream or a download or a CD, the few that are left, that is all executed by the label, pushing, selling, distributing. So the main job of the label is to market the product. It is also to commission and pay for the original recording. Here a stream on Spotify or Saavn or wherever, that is also deemed as a public performance of the master track. Okay, so only master track sits with the label. When you guys make a cover version, if you adapt it, if you translate it, if you take any part of that, it is called the underlying works. The underlying works is basically the tune and the lyrics. So the author-composer, it's called as the author-composer. Composer is the tune guy, author is the lyricist. The author-composer constitute the underlying rights. The publisher actually looks after the rights of the underlying works, therefore the author-composer. So if you're a singer, you don't really care about the publisher. Your job is with the label. But if you are an author-composer, your friend is the publisher, not the label. The label's job is only to promote the final master. They don't care about how many versions of that might get made. Okay? The publisher's job is to make sure that 1 million covers are made of that song, because every time a cover version is made, technically the author-composer are supposed to make some money on it. The publisher is taking care of all recording, re-recording, actually more re-recording, synchronization. So a sync right is when you take an existing track and you sync that track with a video image. Why does that change your life? That changes your life because the publishing right minus sync is not a very expensive right. It's predetermined between 8 and 15% of whatever is the take. So there is a small number attached to a publishing right. A sync right, there is no number attached to it in India. So the publisher can say 2 lakh, 5 lakh, 20 lakh, brand de to 50 lakh, it can be anything. The sync right is what activates the possibility of a takedown. So a strike on your channel is, especially in music, it happens most often because anything that is owned by somebody else, that is somebody else's copyright. YouTube's fingerprinting system, when you create a content, when you upload something, you might have the option, if you're a certain level of a partner, to have content ID. If you've got content ID and you own that content, anybody anywhere in the world who might put up that video or the audio, either, the system will alert you that somebody's put up this content. And you could then claim that, or you could strike it. Your channel is allowed 3 strikes, at which point it will shut down. Most likely when your version is very popular, you'll get a strike. Either you'll get a strike, or what the label will do is, or the publisher technically, but because the publisher and label are the same, in India it's interchangeable, they will go and claim it. So the minute they claim it, that song that you have sung on your channel becomes theirs. for all monetization. So you will never make any money in it. So this stands for International Standard M is silent, Music Works. So International Standard Music Works code. So this is the code that protects the author-composer. So when a master goes to be published, let's say on Spotify, this is generated first, which will now track globally. If it runs on radio, TV, any streaming platform, it will track the underlying works, the tune and the lyrics, anywhere in the world. That administration of that tracking, because all over the world, is done by societies like PRS. PRS is the International Society, IPRS is the Indian Society. The ISRC changes with each new master, if you choose to register it. So if you sung Gulabi Aankhein and you've generated through the rights an ISRC for it, your version of Gulabi Aankhein on any streaming platform, the money will come back to you. This might take even 2 months to generate. An ISWC, because they check documentation, you have to submit your legal agreements, that these are the sign-offs of the author and the composer. What is the revenue share you have internally agreed between author and composer? But the good news is, you don't have to wait to upload your track. If you do a concert, you need 2 rights in India. You need to buy an IPRS right, that's for the underlying works, because then they will give the money to the author-composer. And the public performance right, that is controlled by PPL. You've jumped through the hoops, you've lucked out on a label, you've got a label deal, and you have a publisher, and now you've launched your song. Okay, now what happens? How it works in India is, if you go to a streaming body like Savan or any of the other bodies, Savan is actually supposedly better than the others in their share apparently, they will pay you 35% revenue share of the advertising that they make, and of that, it is prorated between usage. Cut to India. There is no clarity on the agreement, unfortunately, right now. There is no online purchase of mechanical rights. You can publish it, but who knows what the outcome will be. And YouTube cannot administer the split. So if you go to YouTube and say, I did this happening in America, they'll say, you sort it out. We can't get into this. And that's I guess, a fair position for them. And you cannot monetize your content.
Look at a scenario where you have 3 songs on your channel, right? One song is a cover of, let's say, a T-Series song, right? One song is actually your own original song that you have composed. It's a Bon Jovi cover. Now I'm only talking about India, right? It's an original song that you've done. Let's assume that you also made 50 rupees on it, right? YouTube will share 55% of that 55 rupees with you. That is fully yours, right? So that's the money you have made, right?
On the original.
On your original song. Now you've done a third cover, which is an international songs cover. There, again, YouTube will share 55% of that with you. Of that 55%, actually you will get maybe 10%.
So it won't all come to you.
Yeah.
YouTube will then pay your part. So instead of getting 27 rupees in your original, you might get 7-8 rupees, which will include the video part, which is about 10%, and some publishing extra. And the record label and the publisher, the label and publisher will get the balance of that 55 bucks. So now there's a thinking shift you have to make. So YouTube is like TV or radio, marketing, but can also recoup some of that marketing money, which other marketing platforms don't technically allow you, you're only spending. Remember that this is a thing that you'll see me say again and again, that done is better than perfect. I think creators are like entrepreneurs. They have to have that drive, and then they have to just create. And you can't wait for the right moment. And you can't wait for the 100% plan to be all there and everything to be perfect. If you keep waiting for that, you'll keep waiting for that. Mix covers with originals. The thing is that the covers are very recognizable. So when you do a cover, you can try and get traffic to yourself. And as you build a subscriber base through those cover tracks, you build an audience to actually potentially listen to your original version at some point in time. Grow your subscribers. Think of this, how many people, the person who has pressed subscribe and pressed notification alert must be your really loyal fan, better than your best friend. So this person who has done this is actually doing this because they really love you. That's why it's important. So the YouTube subscriber is the epitome of fandom. You can buy a Facebook like, you can buy a Twitter follower, you can hack it somehow, you can buy YouTube views. Legally, illegally, all of that shit is possible. But you cannot buy a subscriber. What are your subscribers doing? Because they love your content, they finish the video. Then they hit like, they hit comments, okay? And then they hit share. So long answer to why are subscribers are important, because they love you, they're the epitome of fandom, and they drive that traffic and algorithm ranking in the first few hours, 1 day, 2 day of launch. And that's what helps you now get discovered organically over the life of that content. So, finally, how do you go about doing covers? You track the trending covers. It's important to do to get the algorithm ranking, etc. You track what is trending. You can discover online what is working, what's not working. If you want to do it by yourself, you have to contact the owners. Hashtag BOLS, best of luck with that. And if you, especially if you want to monetize, and record and publish. Optimization is putting the right title. It's not only about creative writing, the appropriate title for searchability. What do you write in descriptions? Do you put CC on your videos? Subtitles? Do you not? Do you put, what tags do you put in that? How many tags do you put in it? What are the relevant tags? The thing about marketing on digital is far more complex than buying ads on colors at 9 p.m. So where you buy, what you buy, how much you buy for, when you buy, is something that gets monitored. So this is based on analytics. Marketing is, a lot of it is tech based, and marketing must be efficient. Okay, so if you're a rock star and you can do all of that on your own, then that's awesome. You're Superman or Supergirl or whatever it is. But most people need some support in this. So if you can't do that, now you need to find a partner who's focused on the genre, complicated business, has a track record of backing artists, already has a relationship with labels, and does cool shit. Hashtag shameless plug, but it's true. This is what Qyuki does for a lot of our talent. We, especially in music, we create content with them, we license content from labels, we have deals with Sony, with Universal, blah, blah, blah. But this is what we do for a living. That's why we work with Sanam Band. But this was all still just the icing. This is not the cake. The real cake is the business that you develop out of this. So remember, YouTube is your marketing engine. You now have to take this and build your live career or your playback career. All of their popularity online is translating to offline opportunities, and this is called online to offline. So in summary, there's never been a better time to start. So be bold, done is better than perfect. Music is a complex business, focus on your strength. Find partners, whether it's publishers, whether it's MCNs, whatever it is, find partners to back you so you can focus on your main job and make analytics your friend. It will be a loyal friend. Alright? Thank you guys.